You'll be hearing plenty more of that in this new movie. This is the review for Furious 7. It is the seventh installment in the Fast and Furious franchise. And here today, I'm going to bring my movie review of this new Fast and Furious film for you today. So, Furious 7, you guys, basically, I guess the best non spoiler synopsis I can provide you for those who haven't seen like Fast and Furious 6 or some of the previous Fast and Furious movies. Basically, Dominic Toretto, who's the leader of this team, who's played by Vin Diesel, it basically gets a huge threat from the brother of a past enemy that they had in a previous Fast and Furious movie. And basically, throughout the course of the film, they are trying to track down the brother and basically trying to kill him off before he basically kills off any more members of their team as it is. And throughout the course of the film, they're trying to kill off the brother of a past enemy of theirs. So Furious 7, you guys, overall, it's an okay film. I think it is being a little overhyped, to be honest. I also thought the reviews that have this film has been getting so far have been a little too overgenerous, in my opinion. I think more than anything, it might just be out of respect for Paul Walker and respect for James Wan as the director. But yeah, I'm going to go over for you since I do have quite a few points on Furious 7 of what I liked and didn't like about the movie and how it was just kind of an okay experience for me. So for my positives of Furious 7, I thought it had a very strong first half. This definitely was the first half at least was very much in the spirit of Fast 5 and Fast and Furious 6, which were definitely the two installments that really got me into this franchise more than anything. So very strong first half. We got to see, a lot of cool car chases, cars and parachutes, and just a lot of things that you would expect from a Fast and Furious film that really worked for the most part, well, at least in the first half. I thought there was some very effective drama with some of the classic characters from this franchise. Really, very much so for the case of Letty, played by Michelle Rodriguez. Very much so for the character of Brian O'Connor, played by Paul Walker. Just very strong drama, just things that were definitely supposed to feel sad or happy or thankful for these characters. James Wan, who took over for the franchise since Justin Lin did some of the previous films in this franchise. James Wan, did The Conjuring and Insidious, and he took over as director for this movie. He handled that drama very, very well, so huge thumbs up to that. Definitely continue the characters the right way, at least with the characters. Dwayne Johnson came back as the character of Hobbs in this movie, and he has some very good one-liners in this movie. I very much liked the one-liners, and overall, I still really love the character of Hobbs, once again played by Dwayne Johnson. Um, just very fun character. I really liked the scenes that they had him in here. Whenever he was in the film, he was very fun to watch. But unfortunately, we don't really get to see a lot of him. But when he's in the movie, he's a lot of fun to watch. Dwayne Johnson, you definitely tell that loves playing this character, and it's just very fun seeing him back. And with possibly probably one of the better one-liners he's had throughout the course of the franchise. Kurt Russell's character I thought was very fun in this movie. He plays a character named Mr. Nobody in this movie. And when you see the film and when he kind of explains himself of who he is, it's very self-explanatory as to why he's called Mr. Nobody. But very fun character, very much in the spirit of like Escape from LA, Escape from New York. Definitely we see a lot of that Kurt Russell here, and even maybe a little bit of his character from Death Proof. He's just a very fun Kurt Russell character that you would expect him to play. So it very much fit this Fast and Furious franchise for sure. Very fun character from Kurt Russell. For those who are wondering just how good of a tribute this was to Paul Walker and his death and how it was very tragic that his life got taken when the film was first in production. Very good tribute to Paul Walker here. If definitely, it's not really an end credit scene, but it happens towards the end of the film where they really tribute just how important he was to this franchise and how important his character was to the franchise. Huge respect for the character towards the end of the movie. So for those who really wanted to see something really nice for Paul Walker to be sent off from, very nice tribute at the end of the movie. Like I said, it's not during the end credits or after the end credits. It's right before the end credits roll. So you're really not missing anything if you stay after the end credits. Great tribute to Paul Walker here. And then, of course, the huge thing that a lot of people were worrying about that I thought they handled very, very well was, since Paul Walker wasn't able to film all his scenes before the production ended, they were able to take his brother from real life, who's also a stunt double in Hollywood, and they were able to film the rest of his scenes using his brother, and they would do a face modification process with CGI, making it look like we're looking at Paul Walker, but we're really looking at Paul Walker's brother with Paul Walker's face modified onto his brother's face to make it look like we're looking at Paul Walker for certain scenes. Very effective. I was kind of, in a way, I was worried that I was going to notice this a lot throughout the movie, like on the scenes where Paul Walker wasn't alive to film those scenes. But I almost had to kind of really think about what I was looking at, just because it really looked like they finished this movie with Paul Walker. I almost, unless you really knew about that, you really could never really tell. And like even the small things like his lines were used on things like okay, well maybe they're not going to use a line here, but they end up doing a line, and it really, whether that is Paul Walker's voice or not, however they handled it, very effective CGI for over his brother's face. Huge thumbs up to whoever was able to accomplish this. We really get the impression that Paul Walker was alive the whole time during this production, and the CGI that was applied to his brother's face was very, very effective for the times that they had to do that for this movie. Another huge thumbs up I had about for the movie that I really liked. There was a lot of franchise throwbacks throughout the course of the film. Like cars going underneath the trucks. Uh, um, people from the Dominic Toretto team being able to climb on top of a car and be able to steal something or go into the car or a truck and fight whoever villain they're currently fighting on the street and things like that or on the highway. Just very cool throwbacks throughout the course of the film. You can definitely tell either James Wan or the writers or the producers really remembered, what worked in the previous films, and they were able to apply it here for some of the action scenes to not only remind us that this is a new Fast and Furious film, but there is a whole franchise of earlier installments before this movie that we're very much reminded of in a good way. Now for my negatives of this film. I thought the second half of this film was really not that good. And I guess that goes immediately to my next point. This film feels like a live action cartoon. It really doesn't feel like anything's happening is really realistic at all. Um, People almost kind of feel like invincible spaghetti in this movie in the way I feel like not a single person got hurt in the movie, and some of these stunts would either kill you or severely hospitalize you. And there's just a lot of moments in this film where I really feel like there was no consequences or no injuries or anything. It felt like everybody was invincible in the movie, and it just felt like a giant cartoon in which no consequences or pain or suffering or injuries or people bleeding, from the lip around their face or anything. Uh, I don't like how the film felt like a live action cartoon. Then that goes to my next point where I felt like there's a lot of action scenes that are in complete service of the plot. Rather, it's them completely running into exactly what they were looking for, or finding a device where they can find anybody on the planet that they're looking for. It just everything kind of feels like it's in service of the plot, and that's for me personally, that feels like a very lazy way to write a movie. And then that kind of goes on to my next point. This movie has a lot of invincible people in it who can either never get hurt or never get killed, or um, they're put into a situation that would normally kill somebody in real life, and they're able to completely walk away from that situation completely unharmed. It really feels fake and stupid after a while. And the cars also feel indestructible. I don't know how a car can go through like two or three buildings, land perfectly fine, and still be in perfectly fine shape. And then it's not until it crashes onto the ground where the thing finally gets destroyed. I just don't know how any kind of law of physics could make that possible. And I know that Fast and Furious, the franchise, is meant to be like ridiculous and over the top, but it really felt not believable after a while. And I really felt like this film really lacked a plot. I really think this film needed something more than, the villain of the last film has a brother out in the world that's just so happens to be more evil than him, and now they have to go kill this guy. I really feel that they kind of took away what Fast Five and Fast and Furious Six got right, and that's that this franchise became really good once it became a heist franchise, like a heist genre. And I really feel like the heist genre special touch used in the previous two Fast and Furious films was kind of taken away here for the simple reason that the plot really didn't know what it was. Like they didn't really know what they wanted for the plot. I really felt let down because the last two films did such great heist movies that I really feel like that heist portion of those last two films kind of disappeared due to the fact that there really wasn't a plot here in the movie. Dwayne Johnson's also very underused in the film. I think I brought that up earlier. I love watching this character. I love the character of Hobbs. Very effectively used in Fast Five, Fast and Furious Six. Though he had some really good one-liners in the film, we rarely ever see him. And by the time he shows up again, it just goes back into invincible Michael Bay action movie mode, and it really was really quite a letdown to see that they really weren't able to use Dwayne Johnson as much as they were. I also feel like Justin Lin's special touch from Fast Five and Fast and Furious Six was gone here. I really felt like James Wan kind of gave this film a Michael Bay treatment, and I really felt like that wasn't the right way to go for Furious Seven. I really wanted something that continued in Justin Lin's vein of what he was doing the last two times. And though I definitely felt like I got that in the first half of the film, by the second half of the film, there's no laws of physics applied at all, and Justin Lin's special touch is really non-apparent by that point in the movie. And then I just brought this up, but this film really does kind of have a Michael Bay vibe, especially in the second half. It really feels like something out of Transformers or GI Joe or Pearl Harbor, or something that we would see from Michael Bay. And I really feel like once again that really feels like Justin Lin's special touch to the franchise is gone, and that's really disappointing to say because I really wanted to like this movie a lot, and I left the theater kind of good about certain things, but I felt bad about a lot of other things. So overall, I am going to give Furious 7 what might be kind of a generous review at this point, a 7.5 out of 10. There's a lot of things that work here, but there's a lot of things that don't work here. And I really wanted Paul Walker to, I really wanted to give this like a 9 or 8.5 or whatever, like I did with some of the previous installments, but I really couldn't. I really was not impressed enough to really give this movie that kind of a grade or points for that kind of a review. So Furious 7, 7.5 out of 10. If you're a huge Fast and Furious fan, I think you can actually wait for the Redbox rental on this one. I really don't think it's that urgent to see in the theaters. If you really don't like Fast and Furious, if you don't care about the franchise, this isn't the place to start. You can probably just avoid it if you're not a big Fast and Furious fan. But if you are, maybe rent this from Redbox just out of respect for Paul Walker, or go and see it in the theater just maybe out of respect for him. But movies to see nowadays are like $8 or $10 and possibly 13 or $15 if you go to see this in the IMAX theaters. So 7.5, okay film. If you see it, try to do it as a Redbox rental.